My first video of the year. Woo! I have no idea what led me to make this one, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it because I know a lot of other people who have put singing transformation videos out there. Mine's gonna be a little different though. It's not gonna be so much like going from terrible to professional singer. It's not anything like that. Mine is actually a more like stylistic transformation because I kind of told you in my first video I ever put on here that when I was younger, I was like a total vocal gymnast. And that was in my video where I talked about like the crazy vocalist versus easy vocalist and, you know, why I felt like singers need to chill out on the embellishments. Well, I was definitely one of those singers back then that was like showing off all the time. And at first, I never had a problem with it, you know. I was just like having fun. But I had a lot of issues with it. And then when I got a little older and started realizing where all those issues were coming from, and, you know, what was being taken away because I was showing off and embellishing so much and going cray-cray, it just stopped being my thing, and for a very good reason. So, to kind of show you what I sounded like at different points in my life, I brought a couple of old recordings of me to kind of compare to the ones that you're used to hearing. These, I didn't make them to like publish or anything back then. These were just for me, you know, just for I guess just working on my own singing and all that. And of course, you know, my friends always loved hearing me sing, and everybody did, really. They still do. But looking back at these old ones, you know, I kind of cringe a little bit because, you know, because I was so into like being the vocal gymnast back then. It's kind of scary. But either way, just feel free to make fun of it or whatever, because I'm going to. I mean, this is really just me reacting to myself. So, if you want to make fun of it, go ahead, because I'm making fun of it too. Alrighty. This first one, I think, is the one that makes me the most uncomfortable because I was a kid when I recorded this. I was like 10 years old when this was recorded. Actually, my mother recorded me in this first one. And I do remember being a little self-conscious about it and being like, Mom, don't you dare upload this to anything. So thankfully she didn't. But this is gonna be quite a laughing stock. But I'm uncomfortable with this one because, like, it's crazy for me as a former kid singer, if you will, to be saying this, but, you know, I just don't believe it's safe for any kid to be able to sing like the pros. I think a kid who's able to sing that well at that age is at really high risk of hurting themselves. So, for those of you thinking that natural talent is all it's cracked up to be, It's not. It's actually really dangerous. It's better to wait on that stuff until your voice is kind of grown up and your vocal cords aren't quite as delicate. I mean, they'll always be delicate, but as a kiddo, your vocal cords are like the most delicate little rose, and they will break on you. And this is coming from somebody who at 8, 9, 10 years old, all that, sang like that. And I know I sound like a kid still to this day. I'm not. but I'm just gonna go ahead and show you this, and OMG. Try not to cringe. Get this guy queued up here. Uh-oh. Well. Oh, never mind. There you go. Show me what it's like to be the last one standing. Oh teach me from right. I'll show you what I can be. Say it for me, say it to me. Now leave this life behind me. Say it if it's worth saying me. Thank you very much. Oh my gosh. Okay. I really don't like showing my recordings of me as a kid singing because I know how people don't look at that as a big deal. They actually think that's really impressive and awesome. And I'm just like, don't show your kids this because it's not safe. It's not safe to be a kid pro. It's so dangerous. I can say that from experience, definitely. Like, I wouldn't even, if I was a vocal coach, which I don't have any plan to be, but if I was one, I would never take in kids because honestly, it's just too dangerous. Like, it's better to let your voice like mature all the way and then start working on your singing, because singing is so physical and there's so it's basically like, it is probably one of the hardest things you can do with your voice, along with screaming. I mean, it's like one of the hardest things your voice will ever do. It really is. And I just don't, anytime I hear a kid singer nowadays, I just, I'm not impressed by it. I'm actually very concerned for their health. Even if they don't have any noticeable vocal problems, I'm still just like, nope. And I'll go into more of this in another video, but I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, that was how I sang at that age. And everybody's just like, ooh! And I'm like, back then I didn't care. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. But y'all, it did hurt my voice a lot. I didn't know it at the time, but I wasn't in a lot of physical pain, but I did lose my voice a lot, and it did tire out very easily. It doesn't quite as much anymore. But I have a couple other clips for you. These next couple, I made them when I was like 18, so a little bit better, as far as like me not hurting myself as much, but I'm still pretty much a crazy vocalist in both of these. This next one for sure, this is the one that I want to show you. I think this next one actually was the first recording that I looked at where I was just like, wait a minute. I'm showing off way too much in this. This isn't okay. This is the one that really made me look at myself as a vocalist and say, wait a minute, Mia, you need to slow down. But don't take my word for it.
Give me a reason to believe it. 'Cause if you wanna keep me, you gotta get to love me
It's one of my favorite
hard.
songs to sing at the time.
And if you really need me, you gotta get to love me harder.
Hold on, let me fast forward a little bit. This is where I really start to show off.
Take this pleasure and take it with the pain. And let that moment go by your leg. And to get you going, you know it's real. You feel that pressure between your hips. I'll make you feel like the first time.
There it is.
You gotta get to love me harder. And if you really need me, you gotta get to love me harder. Love me harder.
There you go.
If you wanna keep me,
Oh!
gotta get to love me harder. Love me harder. If you
Kind of messed up there. I did all the ad-libs. I just went out with this one. Went all out.
You love me, baby.
Oh, hit you
A
there.
little bit harder, baby. Ooh, yeah.
I kind of lost it there for a minute, but oh boy, you can tell how into it I was. Like, just by listening to you, you don't even have to hear me to like see me to see how into it I was. Like, bad. And I made this when I was like, I want to say about 18ish when I made this one. And I know you haven't really heard me hit them high notes on this channel. Hardly ever, because like I just decided I had to stop doing them because it was starting to bother me a little bit that I was putting so much effort into them and basically neglecting my low range. I didn't like that very much. It just like annoyed me. That it's funny because like when I made that, it wasn't on my mind how crazy I was going. I didn't care about none of that. I was just going like totally crazy, right? But a few days later, after my friends and I were listening to it together, just hanging out, I looked at it again when I was by myself, and out of nowhere, like, I'm listening to it and I'm just like so embarrassed. Like, I'm listening to it and I'm just like, wait a minute, like, this is too much. Like, I'm doing way too much here. And like, and I remember when everybody was telling me how much they loved the way I was singing it and blah 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 blah, you know. And obviously this is our private thing. I didn't like publish it on anything. But I'm so glad I didn't, because I would have been so embarrassed. Because like, it was around this time when I was starting to kind of reevaluate myself as a singer anyway. And I was starting to kind of realize how, you know, we often prioritize the vocalist's singing ability over like the song itself. You know? And this is around the time that I was starting to think about that a little bit. And I was going, wait a minute. You know, this was the year that I really started thinking more about that and switching up my style. Because I looked at that recording and I just cringed like crazy. You know? I really did. I didn't like it. I really didn't like it after a while, you know, listening to it a few times. I was like, this is way too much. And I do remember back in the day when I did used to write some songs of my own, but I never really did anything with them. I just kind of played around a little bit. And I hadn't been doing that in a long time, and I was like, even if I did go back to writing my own songs, would it even matter? Because like my voice is going to be the star of the show, not my lyrics, not the song so much. Knowing how we are, you know, a lot of people will say, I love the song, I love the song. But more than likely, the first thing that they're going to say they like about the song is the singer's voice. Oh, I love that singer's voice. It's so pretty. It's so perfect. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And I remember thinking about that going, no, no, this is not okay. I felt like I had just, you know, it was a good thing that I didn't publish those covers because I was like, sure, it would have probably wound me up a spot on America's Got Talent or whatever. But, you know, I really wasn't into that. Even before I started thinking about all this, I really wasn't into the whole talent show thing. I don't know if it's the introvert in me or what, but I really wasn't into that. But, like, even if I was, like, we all know that it wouldn't have anything to do with my songwriting ability that got me there. It would be my voice. I knew that was the possibility. It would be all about my singing ability. You know, not the song, not the writing. I mean, why do you think most entries into these talent shows are covers and not original songs anyway? Because it's all about their singing ability, right? It would have been the same for me. Now, yeah, I do the covers here on YouTube, you know, nowadays. But that's not the same as, you know, doing it on stage at a talent show or whatever. You know, I do it here just because it's fun and I like to, you know, let people hear me sing. I like to share my voice when I can. But, you know, I have horribly neglected my songwriting ability over the years because I've been so focused on being this vocal gymnast, if you will. I have been so focused on my singing voice alone that I haven't really, you know, and it's crazy because a lot of the singers that I love, that I listen to, they are great songwriters. They really are. But it's really hard to pay attention to that because everybody's so focused on their voice because they're always showing off those licks and trills. Ooh, you know, all that. And when people do bring up their lyrics and how good they are, and when I do hear a song that has great lyrics and all that, I get so disoriented, especially if it's a really acrobatic vocalists, if you will, like Christina or Demi or Ari or somebody like that, because it's really hard for me to focus on it, even if they do have great lyrics and all that. It's hard for me to get past the embellishments. It's hard for me to get past that because that's what always takes my focus first. That's what always takes my focus. And I can't get around that. Even when I do love the song for something other than the vocalist, I still can't get around the fact that they're showing off and that it's taking my attention away from what really matters, the expression. You know, even if they are singing for expression, it's people pay attention to it more for the impression. You know what I mean? And I hear a lot of people say, no, it is expression. It is expression. And I'm just like, I don't agree with that. I really don't. And especially in my case, I did view it as expression, but really, I was just trying to sound like the star. You know, it really wasn't about me expressing myself. It felt that way, but it really wasn't. It was really just me showing off because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know that I could be expressive without showing off like that. So yeah, that was around the time when I started to really look into that and go, I'm not too into being this crazy vocal gymnast. I'm not into that. And I remember I listened to that song a couple times, that cover, and then I just like let it sit there and I didn't touch it for a really long time because I just didn't want to hear it anymore. I didn't want to be that singer anymore after a while. I wanted to settle down a little bit. I wanted to chill out a little bit on my singing. And I started just a little bit at a time, weaning myself off the crazy stuff. And it was kind of hard to do because I was so used to singing like that. And it was very hard for me to find a role model because, well, most singers are that way. You know what I mean? Even if they do have periods where they're not as much, certain songs and whatnot. So I just tried to pick the easiest songs I could find. And, one of the things I did actually was go back and revisit some of my favorite little kids songs that were made for little kids who were not yet vocal gymnasts. They were just total beginners and total amateurs, as they're supposed to be, And I would go back and listen to those and sometimes sing them to kind of remind myself, yeah, slow down. You don't need to be a pro singer here. You can just sing, like, like a kid again. And of course, I never did sing like a kid. I always sang like, like a pro. And that was part of the problem. Was like I never had, a reference of my own voice because I was always the showy, flashy vocalist, even as a little one, as you heard in that first audio. So it was not easy, but over the years, I finally kind of cut back on it. And then like the covers that you hear now are you know, much different because it was just better for me to sing that way and kind of slow down and get my easier singing style back and cut down on the riffs and runs and get my straight tones back because I really, after all that, it got to where I really had a hard time holding straight tones for a long period of time. It really did get hard because I was so used to playing with vibrato all the time. I was used to singing like that all the time. You know, not because I was some classical singer, even though I did like to sing along to opera as a kid. Um, but just because I spent so much time showing off. That was pretty much all that. And let me tell you guys, you'd think that cutting back like that would feel boring, but it was nowhere near that. I learned that I could express myself without all that crazy stuff in the way. And you know what else? As I started cutting back on all that, it's crazy, but I feel like my voice overall got healthier. I really do. I really feel like I wasn't tiring out as much. I wasn't losing my voice that often. I didn't I don't hardly have any vocal problems now. Like hardly ever. Like I don't tire out as much. I think it's because I'm not putting so much energy into, all the crazy stuff and I'm just singing for the sake of singing and expressing myself. You know, since I started kind of letting up on all that, I feel like, you know, I took a lot of stress off my poor little fragile vocal cords. You know what I mean? You know, and they are still pretty delicate. I mean, yeah, sure, I'm all grown up. I'm just turned 21 recently, but that's still pretty young. And and I'm sure they're still growing in some ways. So, you know, I still need to be gentle with them, you know? And I think we all should be more gentle with our singing voices. And that's part of the reason that I think we should chill out with the embellishments and stuff a little cuz I mean, not only is it messing with our music and stuff, but you know, I think it's messing up our voices more than we realize. And a lot of us can't tell right away, but they really are, you know, tiring out a lot sooner. And I think people that oversing regularly, I think they have a lot more problems later in life than people who don't. You know what I mean? And I like my singing style that I have now so much better. I really do. I feel like I'm actually more expressive this way, not less. And every now and then, just for the heck of it, I'll go back and kind of like if I'm not actually singing the words to a song, if I'm just humming or whatever, sometimes I'll kind of my let the fluffy frilly stuff kind of sneak back in for a little bit, kind of like I did in the ASMR video I uploaded recently. But I'm a lot more mindful now. I'm a lot more control than I used to be. And I know now that I have a choice, and, you know, I don't sing like that hardly at all anymore. Like, majority of the time. Because, like, it's easier on me when I don't. And it's actually harder for me to sing like that now that I haven't been doing it as much. But that's alright, because I really don't need it, you know? I don't need all that fluffy, frilly stuff, you know? And if it shows up uh, every once in a great while in my voice, then that's fine. But, you know, sparing is the way to go. You know what I mean? And I really do think if you're going to use it, you know, use it sparingly. So, yeah. So, that's my story. um, so if you do like any of my covers that I've put on here, or any of my other videos, feel free to let me know what you want to see more of on here. I am gonna be taking a break on the covers for a while though, because I do want to get back to the vlogs. But I would love to hear from you what I should talk about on here in my vlogs. You know, if you have any singing questions for me or anything like that, I would be more than happy to make a video on those things for you. I've already gotten a couple requests, so I'll be probably working on those pretty soon. And also, feel free to look at my video of which singing style do you like better. I'll put that link in the description so you can find it fairly easily. And I'll leave my cover playlist down there so you can find that as well. So if you like this video, make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And I should have more for you very soon. Bye, singers!